Back today, the last class we looked at the phenomena that happens to liquids, like how much vapor comes off, what's the vapor pressure that will be exerted from a liquid, what were some of the other things, the viscosity, some properties of liquids based on the intermolecular forces. The stickier it is, the more viscous it is. The stickier the intermolecular forces are, the higher the boiling point. But the stickier it is, the less amount of vapor gets there. So there's lower vapor pressure. Anyway, what we're going to do is take a look at a few calculations today in the liquid phase. So as stuff heats, for instance, and we'll take a look at some other, calculations based on what's going on, like how temperature and pressure are related to each other, and what calculations we can use to follow that process. So first, melting. Let's think about the melting process. You're going from a solid held in place, and now as you warm that, the particles are going to be moving faster. That's what temperature is the average kinetic energy or speed of the molecules. That solid is just going to be moving in a vibrational pattern that's faster, and then you feel it as being warmer. Your hands are really good at sensing temperature, which is the speed of the particles. Now, that's just to warm it up. Once you get to 0 degrees for water, for instance, which melts at 0 degrees Celsius, then a little bit of extra heat is going to take to actually get them to then be able to move between each other. And that amount of heat, not changing the temperature, but the freedom of the molecules, is called the delta H of fusion. If you remember, delta H is a heat term, a Q. Q is the term for heat in general, but if you're specifically talking about a reaction, for instance, we use delta H, and that's when the container is open to the air so that the atmospheric pressure doesn't change. All right, so that's delta H of fusion. Now you can get a delta H of evaporation, and you get a delta heat of sublimation as well. Those are all the heats that it takes to evaporate a substance. If it's got a 0 at the back end, that's the heat it takes it's called the standard heat of fusion, or standard heat. That's a mole, the energy it takes to evaporate or freeze or sublime a mole of that substance. So that's the symbols anyway. So that's all of the different symbols. Evaporating takes a lot more energy. You'll see down here in a second. It just takes way more to separate those particles way away. Usually it's about 5, 7, 10 times more energy. But sublimation goes straight from a solid into a gas, and that takes a lot of energy too. It's the combination of those two. If you've ever been out in the mountains or something and it snowed and it's gotten a nice glare on it. I grew up in North Dakota, so it never really got warm enough to melt. But the highways would clear after 5, 7, 8 days if it was icy, just because they're evaporating. Same thing happens in your fridge. If you buy a set of popsicles or something like that, the popsicle will get smaller and smaller the longer it sits there. So those are a couple ways that you can sublime out of the water of the ice phase into the gas phase, and it never just melts. Let's take a look at some of the heats that are involved. So if you look at the heat of fusion, it's 300. It's about 334 joules to take and warm not just warm, doesn't warm at all. It takes the ice in a solid and takes it into a liquid phase. The heat that takes it from a liquid and goes into a gas phase, same temperature, 100 degrees liquid to 100 degrees gas, is 2,200, about 7 times more. So those are the heats that we're talking about. Now, each of the phases of water has its own heat capacity. So solids, for instance, of ice in water is 2 joules per gram Celsius. So 2 joules it takes for 1 gram of water to get 1 degree Celsius higher. It's actually 2.062. And then 4, that's about twice the amount of heat to get it as a liquid to get moving faster. Why is that? That hydrogen bonding, they sort of get tangled, and so it takes more energy to get them moving faster. And gases go back because there's so much space between them, it doesn't take as much. It takes like it does in the solid phase. Think about solids sort of independent and not running into others. So all it's doing is moving faster. All the energy is going into motion. Same in the gas phase because they're not hitting each other. But the liquid, you got to untangle them while they're rolling around and getting faster. Awesome. So those are the heat capacities. That's the heats of fusion, the heats of vaporization. If we're going to change the temperatures at all, don't forget the heat capacity tells you how much heat it goes up 1 degree. So it's the heat capacity times the mass times the temperature, and that's how much heat gets involved in warming something. That's CMT. So let's take a look. How much heat is required to melt ice and heat it into a steam from A, which is down here, to minus 20, I believe, minus 10, and we're going to go all the way up to steam at 110. So if you think about it this way, it's the heat of the ice being warmed up to 0. It's the heat of the melt, which is delta H fusion, then the heat of the water as it's warming up to 100, plus the heat to vaporize it, the heat bulb there, and the heat of steam getting warmer. So all of those heats have to add up. So when I say how much heat is required to heat 72 degrees Celsius from -10 to 110, we're going to take each of those steps. This first one, 72 grams of ice from 10 below to 0. Well, you got to take it times 2.0. The mass times, CMT. The heat capacity times the mass times the temperature. So that's what we do here. 2 times 72 times 10. Okay, 1,400. Then we're going to change it to melted water. That's 24,000 joules. Okay, I take 72 grams times the heat of fusion. So the heat of fusion times the mass. So 24, it's a lot more. To melt it takes way more than to heat that up 10 degrees. And then all the heat to warm it up to 100 degrees, that's this one. That's about the same amount as it does to melt it. It's not that much different, 30,000 versus 24,000. Finally, the heat to take it from a liquid at 100 degrees to steam at 100 degrees is 162,000. Again, it's 5 times more heat than it takes to warm water from freezing up to 100 degrees. And the last one is the little bit of heat it takes, very similar, like we said, to the amount it takes just to warm ice. It takes to heat steam even further, and that was 1,400. So you get a total, when you add those all up, 63,000 joules. It's a lot of heat, and that's why we use it in energy production. Stores a lot of energy. That heat wants to expand things. If it's a gas, for instance, and it'll push on turbines, all that kind of stuff. So that's what you would need to do. You'd have to go through adding up all these heat terms. The heat term for heat capacity is CMT. Capacity times mass times the temperature change you want. The delta H's, you just got to look them up. And for water, that's there, but other things you can look up. If you get a problem, you're not sure where to get it, just put that in heat capacity of that substance in a browser, and the first thing that pop up is going to be the heat capacity. So you can look it up that way too.